Today I'll be baking chocolate chip cookies. One of the first things you do whenever you're baking is you make sure you have all your ingredients. So what I'm going to do is get everything together, lay everything out, measure everything, and then when I go to mix and to bake, it makes it a lot easier. And really the key, the secret to baking is organization, and follow the recipe exactly and be organized. Ingredients measured and everything's ready to go, we can start to bake. First, what I'll do is I'll heat the oven to 375 degrees. Now while the oven's heating up, we can start. In this bowl is 3/4 of a cup of butter flavored Crisco. I'll put that right here. And to that, this is 1 1/4 cup of brown sugar. And when you measure brown sugar, you need to be sure that you put it in the cup and you pat it down firmly, so you get a full cup and 1/4. Yeah, 1 1/4 cup. So you add that in there. Also to that, you need to add milk and vanilla. And the amount of vanilla you add is 1 tablespoon. And the amount of milk that you add is 2 tablespoons. And you want to cream that until it's nice and creamy. Okay. As you can see, this is a nice creamy texture. It's blended very evenly and it's very smooth. Almost like icing for a cake. At this point, you just want to add 1 egg. And blend it some more. Okay, and it'll have this kind of consistency, like an icing. Set that aside. Now in this we have flour. This is all-purpose flour, and it's 1 3/4 of a cup. And to measure flour, you do not want to pat it down like you would sugar. You just want to spoon it out, and I put it in a large container so you can open the lid and get it out easily. But you just want to spoon it out into the cup and just level it. And this is 1 3/4 cup, and you need to add some salt to this, a teaspoon of salt, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. And you just want to stir this up a little bit. And then you'll add your dry ingredients to your wet ingredients. And you want to do that kind of slowly, just a little bit at a time. Okay. Now, as you can see, It's now very thick, it's almost like a dough. Now all you need to do is stir in your chips and your nuts. Now up to now, you need to make sure all the ingredients have the right amount and you do it in the right order. But for the final ingredients, you can put in basically anything you want. These are semi-sweet chocolate chips and it's 1 cup. I'm just going to stir those in. And you don't need to do it a whole lot, just enough to get it mixed up a little bit. So, it's fine. And 1 cup of pecan pieces. Now you can use walnut pieces or any kind of nut you want. Also for the chips, instead of the dark chocolate, which was these, as long as it's semi-sweet, the semi-sweet, you can use the chocolate chips. You can use these M&Ms, which are called semi-sweet M&Ms, and they're made for baking. And they're real small, like that. Or you can use the white chocolate chips. And they have, they're semi-sweet and they have vanilla flavor. And if you want, you can add a little bit of cocoa, Hershey's cocoa, not instant hot chocolate, but the actual cocoa. And you can add about 2 tablespoons of that, and it'll give it a little more chocolate flavor, and it'll make the cookies brown. And then you can use the white chips, and you'll have brown cookies with white chips. But we're going to make regular cookies this time. Okay, now that this is stirred up, it looks just like this. It's just a dough. And what you want to do next is take your cookie pans, and if these are non-stick, so they don't need anything added. But if you want to add a little, you can either take some Crisco and rub it on, or this is a little bit of butter spray. You can use that. But my preference is called Baker's Joy, and it's a non-stick spray, like an oil, and it has flour in the oil, so it's like greasing your pan and flouring it at the same time. I'm going to give it a light spray on both. Then you simply take your dough and you put them on your pan. You need to make sure you leave enough room for them to spread out so they won't touch each other. And also make sure they're all the same size. You can make large ones or small ones, but they all need to be the same. If you have large ones and small ones on the same pan, then the small ones will be cooked before the large ones are. So these all look like they're about the same size. So continue until you finish your 2 baking pans. Once that's finished, you put them in your oven. The oven is now hot because the light is off at 375 degrees. And when you put them in, you want to put them in the middle of the oven, and you want to make sure there's a space between the pans and all the way around so the air can circulate. There's lots of dough left over. This is really enough to make 3 dozen cookies, a little bit smaller than what I have here, but this is enough for 3 dozen cookies. And you can put a piece of saran wrap over this, put it in the refrigerator, and you can keep it for up to a week. You don't want to bake them all at once, or if you want to make this ahead of time, so after you have dinner you can just put them in a pan and bake them, that'll be fine. However, we're going to put these in. Now they're going to be at 375 degrees, and you cook them for about 8 minutes if you want the soft chewy cookies, and about 10 to 11 minutes if you want the hard, firm cookies. It's also important to remember when you take them out of the oven, they're going to continue to cook, so they might not be as brown as you want, but they will brown after a couple of minutes. Okay, the cookies are almost ready. So when I take them from the oven, I'll let them stay for about 2 minutes on the pan just to finish baking, and the bottoms will set so you can take them off. Okay, that means it's been 8 minutes. And then I'll put them on these wire racks so they can cool evenly. As you can see, they're still kind of light on top, but they'll cook for another 2 minutes and they'll get a little bit darker. You'll notice they really didn't touch each other, and they're going to come out really good. And they lift off very easily, as you can see. And they'll take about 15 minutes to cool completely. One of the reasons people don't bake very often is because it uses so many dishes. However, while these cookies were in the oven, this first batch, I did all the dishes except for this one bowl and these 2 pans. So really the cleanup is very easy. So now this just about does it. You can either serve your cookies like this while they're warm, or let them cool and serve them cool. Also, what I sometimes do is melt a half a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips with a half of a tablespoon of the butter flavored Crisco, and I do that in a microwave oven at half power until it's like a thick syrup almost. And you take a spoon and you just drizzle it over, and that really does come out good. The final note, I thought you might be interested to see just how many cookies that much makes. It actually made 36 cookies, which is 3 dozen. It made this many. I made for about 8.5 minutes each, and they came out soft and chewy. And these last 6, I left a little bit longer so you could see them, because some people like them crunchy and a little bit darker. But this is what I think most people like over here.